All right, so we're live here on Dodgers Digest. Of course, our Monday morning live stream. Mike Nelson here with Brad J. What a week for our Dodgers. Of course, sweeping the Tigers and still
Yeah,
undefeated, Brad. It's been pretty crazy these last few days.
I know, man. I can't even believe it. 5-0 right there. And then you look at the record that the Dodgers are trying to beat, the 1981 team. I mean, they started out, what was it, they had 6-0. And then you look at the 1955 team, and they were 10-0.
10-0.
So
Pretty
could the
crazy.
Dodgers,
Yeah.
yeah, could the Dodgers go and actually be more than 10-0? Well, let's talk about it, Mike. Atlanta, they just got swept by the Padres, and Dodgers are facing Atlanta in Sylvester Green. What do you think about that matchup?
Well, I think the Dodgers have to be heavy favorites. I know Chris Sale is pitching on Tuesday. That should be maybe a little more difficult, but clearly these next few games, the Dodgers, are set up to continue winning. But we got to talk a little bit more about this last series because I think Thursday was one of the best opening days I remember in recent memory for the Dodgers. Not just because they
Okay,
won, but just it was such a good game. I mean, the Tigers really put up a fight the first 2 days.
they did. You
Yeah,
got to
and,
give it to
and
them.
opening day was really fun. I mean, usually opening day, sometimes, it's always fun opening day, but I think this year was one of the best I've seen in a long time.
Well, we're witnessing something pretty darn special. If you really look at the whole ramifications of winning the World Series last year and putting together the team that the Dodgers have put together and added little bits and pieces, I mean, come on. We're looking at something that's amazing. And this whole year, no matter what, is going to go down in history as an amazing year for the Dodgers and what they did. Remember, now I predicted this. You and I were talking to Troy before the series, and you said what, that Dodgers would take two of three, and I said no, they're going to take all three.
Yeah, you, you,
So
you you got it right, Brad. You definitely did. I
I
was
think I got
surprised.
one. I got one
You
right.
got, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, it's
but they
crazy.
had to come from they had to come from behind.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, and
especially Friday. Friday was
that's a
crazy.
big
That was a crazy game.
that's a that's a big deal. Now, how do you feel like? Because when I look at the Dodgers now, and if the Dodgers are down 2-0 in the first or second, or down 4-0 in like the third inning, I'm not worried at all anymore. It's one of those things where it's like, oh man, that's it. Game's over. We can't come back from that. But nowadays, it's like you look at that and go, huh, okay, maybe. You know, that's how I look at it
Yeah,
now.
because the team just had it's just is stacked from top to bottom. I mean, they got so many hitters. It's so hard to pitch to this team. And I mean, we got to talk about Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts, what a warrior! Basically winning the game for the Dodgers on Friday. And after all that he's been through, I think that was one of the biggest moments in Mookie Betts' career. And I think when he retires, he's gonna remember that game against the Tigers because you could see the emotion on his face. He was very sick, Brad, and for him to
Yeah,
to come through like that on Friday was very special.
yeah, and I mean, you look at what he did, and you look at what he came back from, and you look at the weight he lost and being sick, and no one likes to have to deal with the flu. The flu is pretty gnarly to deal with, and if it's something that's heavy that's going to take you down for 2 weeks, I mean, he's already not a very heavy dude, so to drop 20 extra pounds and then still have the power, I mean, you got to give it up for him, but you also got to give it up for his wife too as well, because even Mookie said it. He goes, there was times I was just in her arms crying on the couch as she's trying to bring me back, and he couldn't understand why he was out. But you know what? Hey, a good woman behind him, able to help him out, get him back in the lineup. And what do you think about him getting the day off as yesterday's win or the day before the
Yeah, well,
Dodgers
that
won?
was expected. I mean, I think after the extra innings
Yeah,
game on Friday, I think you had to give Mookie a bit of a breather, and I think we're going to see that the first few weeks. You might not play all the series. You might take a game off here and there, which is okay because I think he's not at 100%. There's no way he's at 100%, Brad. I can't.
yeah.
There's no way he is.
No, there's no way to build that back. You can't. You look at the shape that he got in at Camelback Ranch all the way through spring, and then at the end, just like couldn't do it. 2 days before he flies to Tokyo, he's not feeling well. He's not feeling well the whole time there. Comes back not feeling well against the Freeway Series and the Angels, and yet they get him back in there to play. And I think you're using. I think Dave is coaching properly. I think he's managing the team correctly just by giving him that day off, like you and I are just talking about, because he's not going to be 100% right away. And the Dodgers haven't even had an error yet in any of the games. So I don't want to jinx that right there, but
Oh, come on,
I mean,
Brad. I
he's
think you
playing.
might have jinxed it. You know what they say, but no, but I don't know. I think this team is going to be really fun to watch all year long. I'm really surprised though that the Dodgers are dominant right from the get go, right? Because like you would expect there'd be some
Yeah.
World Series hangover. They just won the World Series, but this team looks like they're like I don't know more motivated to win this year, or there's just something with the Dodgers this year that it looks pretty special in comparison to years past. I don't know what you think, Brad, but I think this team is gonna be very hard. Like it's gonna be very hard to beat this team to catch up to this team in the division if we get off to such if we could keep winning, right? I know San Diego's
Yeah.
undefeated too, but
Yeah.
if this continues, I mean, how do you catch the Dodgers really? It's gonna be like a 10-20 game lead by the All Star break. If the team continues this way, the San Diego will eventually start to fade out.
Yeah, and I think that's a situation that you really don't want. I don't think you really want to have it so secure with so much time left, in the season. I just don't think that's a good thing for the Dodgers because yeah, you can experiment, you can bring in some of the guys from OKC, you can give your guys that have been the workhorses, you can give them a break and not work them as hard. But does it take them out of the routine? How does that all play into effect when you clinch something so far? And that's also what I said about them not going to get the win record because it'll be so secure by then. Like, why are you trying to keep winning? I don't know. Not that you're going to try and lose, but it doesn't become that important if you've already clinched your division and you're going to the postseason, right? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that the Dodgers are going to fall in that trap again, this year where they're like, wait, we've seen that in years past. We didn't see it last year because it was such a close
Man, I don't
divisional
like it.
race between San Diego and the Dodgers, right? But I just can't see it
Yeah,
this year happening, right? I think this year we're going to see
I don't
that.
like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either because the Dodgers haven't won a World Series when that has happened, right? We've seen a
Remember the
flat team
last
in the October.
Remember the last time I brought that up to you was like that's what was it the I don't even was it the 2004 Rockies or something like that who did
2007
that?
Rockies, they got
2007
they won 700 games and then they had to wait a week for the World Series and
Rockies.
they were
Yeah,
not
yeah. So
all there.
they and they just got their clock cleaned is what happened
Yeah,
to them
against the
after
Red
that.
Sox. Yeah.
There's nothing they could really do. Uh, yeah.
All right, we
So
got
no,
some
but
comments,
also
Brad.
not 2004. Bring him 2004 though. You remember they also went on and faced the Yankees in law, right? Wasn't that the one? I don't know. We'll look into
2004.
it. What do we got? What's our comments?
Yeah, we got Roy saying good morning, Dodger family. We got no words with Sasaki. Oh yeah, he's probably talking about the video. That you talking about Sasaki. Roy saying no words with Sasaki. Should be in Japan, only 23 years old. Be patient. Let's talk a little bit about Sasaki, Brad. I didn't get a chance to watch that game, but what are your thoughts on Sasaki? His first start in
Man,
Dodger Stadium.
61 pitches and one third inning. Man, I don't know. It did not look good, but it looks like. I mean, if you look what Oral Hershiser was saying during the broadcast, I felt the same way. Is that he just wasn't locating. The splitter that he was throwing was so low and so far out of the strike zone that it wasn't even enticing at all. So Oral saying he was missing by feet, not inches, and so I think that was one of the biggest things. And if you go back to what everyone's saying is like he needs to have that low fastball and have that thing dialed so he can complement that with the splitter, and he wasn't doing that, and you could see it in his face that he was not happy. You could see some of the pictures they posted where his eyes looked pretty watery. I mean, he's a young dude. He's a perfectionist. He wants to win. He has that drive. He has that strive, and it wasn't going his way. And you could tell nerves definitely got the best one because it's one thing to start out in Tokyo. That's fine, okay? Start out in Tokyo, but it's a whole other thing to come to Dodger Stadium, as you know, like with a packed house of 56 or 57,000 people, which Dodger Stadium holds. That's a lot of people right there, and the pressure was on, and he felt it. And I think that his next start will be on the road, and it looks like against Philly, I'm pretty sure. Second game against Philly, and I got to think that could be trouble because Philly's a good team too as well. Hopefully he can snap back.
Yeah, I think with Sasaki, he's a young pitcher. Last year we saw Yamamoto have struggles at first two, and in the end it ended up, he ends up being the Dodgers ace in the World Series run. So I think Sasaki, he probably won't be the ace for the Dodgers this year because they have so many pitchers this year on the team. But it's still going to be an adjustment period, right? Because he's never pitched in North America, United States. It's a different game for sure. But I think the Dodgers don't have to be. They're not going to put a lot of pressure on Sasaki because they got so many players, Brad. I mean, this team. It's an interesting situation for these young guys on the Dodgers because the Dodgers have so many other players that they don't have to rely on these young guys one bit, really. I mean, look at Ha-Seong Kim. He's in the minor leagues right now. I mean, if he was on any other team, he would be with the big club, right? There's no way he'd be in the minors.
He'd be playing. He'd be playing for any other club. Yeah. So it's a tough one because you see what he did is 61 pitches and you can't even get in. You can't even get out of the second inning. That's a rough one, and it really held with him. But he's a proud character, and he's a young dude who wants to bring the best. So I gotta think that no matter what, he's gonna come out and make adjustments because, dude, seriously, he's got a week to look at everything that Philly's doing because those are the guys he's gonna face. Pretty sure Yamamoto will get the first game, he'll get the second game. How it looks. So go to school. Go see what everyone's doing, see what everyone's trends are doing. Make sure you establish your low fastball and then complement it with the splitter. That's, make the adjustments. And I think that he has the drive to man, I'm not letting that happen again. As we saw, Yamamoto, what was that, a career high in strikeouts? 10 that he had the other day. So, I mean, that's how you got to do it. You got to correct the wrong.
For sure.
Mr. Nelson.
All right, we got another comment here. We got, this is a good question here from Roy. How patient should we be with Muncy? He's older and slower. He's saying it should be his last year with the Dodgers. It's a bit harsh, Roy. I don't know. I don't think it should be his last year with the Dodgers. I think he still has a bit to contribute. He's going to be, I think he still has a few years, Brad. But what do you think about Max Muncy?
Man, I don't know. It's tough to see him, go over, how many games that he does that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, his defense isn't a problem. His defense is solid at third. The guy can play some ball, and he fills in at first, too, as well. But I think it is his last year because this is his last year in the contract, as with CT3 with Taylor, too, as well. So I just don't see it. And 10 years as a Dodger, much respect for Muncy and what he's done to help. But I got to think Dodgers can't think with their hearts. At some point, you're going to have to address it. And Arenado's not going anywhere. I think he's had some good games. I think he's finally going to stay, and there's going to be no more talk about him. But I don't know, man. I think you still got to give Muncy the opportunity to get out there and just see what he can do. Taylor on the other side of thing, someone else could go in that position. But, what is it, $17 million left in his contract too as well? Yeah. I mean, I hate to talk anything disparaging about these two guys, but if they're not producing, how long of a leash do you give them, Mike?
Yeah, the thing with Max Muncy, though, is that he is an everyday player, basically. So that's, with Chris Taylor, the situation is he's kind of out of the loop, right? I mean, he's already on his way out. They've been trying to trade him for a year or so now, whereas Max Muncy is still an everyday player that the Dodgers are relying upon. So to decide to move on from him at the end of the year is going to be a big decision because now the next question is, who do you put at third base now every day, right? And that's they're going to have to try to acquire somebody or somebody's coming up. So that's where I think that the issues start to, you start talking about Max Muncy, letting him go would be a big decision, I think. Especially if the Dodgers go to go far this year, win the World Series, and Muncy is a part of that,
I don't think they have I don't think they had the leeway to be able to do that because of what you just said right there, because he's the everyday guy. You don't have someone else. Yeah, you can fill in and throw Kike in that position, here and there, but you're not putting Kike at third for the whole entire season. You're definitely not doing that.
Yeah.
And so with Muncy, I think Muncy, by default, no matter what, and obviously, the guy can get walks, so he can get on base, but I think he's going to be on third, and there's nothing that's going to be able to change that until some sort of big trade or someone in the minors who's just can come up and do that. But I just think Muncy stays on. But like you said, CT3, good chance Taylor could move, but how much of the contract do the Dodgers want to pay? I mean, if you give Taylor an opportunity and let's say he does good and he gets his average up, is he worth more to maybe now you could trade him and not have to pay half of that $17 million if you're the Dodgers?
It was hard to give him an opportunity, though, without the Dodgers having an injury, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how do the Dodgers kind of slip him in with everybody healthy, which obviously is not going to happen. There'll be injuries, but that's probably when Taylor's going to get his shot, when somebody goes down.
Yeah, and the thing about Taylor is he can play. He obviously can play infield positions, but he can actually play outfield too. So he's a guy that can play both. So he does become important on that end. But there's guys that you want to give a start to out there, and I feel like the outfield for the Dodgers is pretty much nailed down right now. I mean, not etched in stone, but Conforto, and then you got Teo on one side, and then you can interchange Edman in that middle spot with Pajes. Like, I think that's the outfield looks pretty solid. It's just the infield still. Do you think Mookie's going to be fine at short, especially being how sick he was? I mean, so far so good, but you got to be gentle with him. You got to be, give him his opportunity, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think they're gonna have to take their time with Mookie. We got a good comment here from JS3242. A little bit what we were talking about earlier, Brad. We need San Diego to push them. Of course, talking about the Dodgers, and that's a good point. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in a way it is true. We do need a team to push the Dodgers throughout the year, right? I mean, it would be good if the Padres were a bit competitive and not a bad team or completely out of it. Because if the Dodgers don't get pushed during the regular season in the division, it's going to be very hard for them to kind of turn it on when the playoffs start, right? Especially having that week off with the wild card round, because they're going to probably have that week off. I mean, I don't expect the Dodgers to be a wild card team or finish as a third worst division winner. So the likely scenario is they finish first or second, have the week off, and hopefully have had some sort of adversity in September, right, with the team chasing them. Because if that doesn't happen, Brad, I mean, I'm going to be a bit concerned because this Dodger team, this Dodger team alone, right? Because maybe you could talk about the other Yankee teams that have been able to kind of turn it on when the playoffs started, like the '98 Yankees who won a bunch of games and then were able to flip it on. But this Dodger team hasn't been able to do that ever, right? The years that they have won the World Series, they've always had adversity in September, right? It's always been that way.
There's always been someone battling and nipping at your heels. And you know what? I got to agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that because you want the Padres to put the pressure on them. And like we just talked about, 4-0, the Padres are starting. Yeah. I watched a couple of those games since they weren't on during the Dodgers, and I was like, wow, they looked really good.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, this is good. Maybe. And this goes back to what I said. How long ago was this? Last time we talked? I feel like, look, everyone says it's Dodgers-Giants rivalry. Yes. I agree. It's always because that's going to go back to New York.
Yeah.
Back way back when it was always about the bums, and what have you. So they faced off. But with that being said, that Padre-Dodger rivalry is getting to be kind of big. And if the Padres are going to go the way they're going now, the Dodgers are going to do what they're going to do. I still feel the Dodgers are going to have the edge. But we can see some shootouts, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, they'll have the edge because it's just the players they have, right?
Yep.
But I just think that there has to be some, like it was good this week, Brad. Look, we had a good competitive opponent in the Tigers, right? We have to give the Tigers credit. They really played well the first 2 days. They gave everything they had. The Tigers, I think, are going to probably win their division the way they're looking right now. And that was good for the Dodgers having a comeback game early on. Because you don't want the Dodgers winning every game 8-10-0. That's not going to make this team ready for the playoffs. No. This is baseball. It's not basketball. Yeah. The NBA, you could do that. You could blow everybody out and win a championship. But this is baseball, right? There's no way you could do that in this sport.
That's why every time I watch a game now and the Dodgers go down 2-0 or 3-0 or whatever the score is, you're not out of it. You know that this team, with what they have, what they put on the field day in and day out, can catch up any lead. So it's like if your starting pitcher gives up 3 runs, I feel like the Dodgers win that game. If your starting pitcher gives up 4 runs, I still feel like the Dodgers win that game. So that's the thing. It's like you have these great starting pitchers already, and all they have to do is like limit the damage to like 2 or 3 runs, and the Dodgers are going to pull the victory out in the end because you look at the lineup all the way through, the pitchers, the starting lineup. I mean, that is a healthy, stacked field of pitchers that know how to get it done. And unfortunately for Sasaki is one of them, but there's someone else ready to come in, right?
Yeah, they have way too many pitchers, the Dodgers, yeah. That's the key. I mean, I don't know how the Dodgers are going to manage guys such as Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin when everybody is ready to go because how do you have so many starting pitchers on a roster?
Well,
That's
look,
the question.
if you're Dustin May, come out tomorrow night when it's your starting night because it's Glasnow tonight, and
Yeah,
then it's going to be Dustin May the next day. So if you're Dustin, make it impossible for them to replace you.
he's
Go
got to
out
pitch
there
good.
and pitch,
Yeah,
pitch your heart out.
yeah.
Yep. And then the Dodgers are like, no, well, he's already earned that starting spot, so we're going to keep him there. So look for him to do good tomorrow night, and see if that just keeps him in there longer, and it's an easier decision for the Dodgers in the end on who they want to put as their fourth or fifth or sixth starter if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to put a lot of pressure, I think. Like you said, if Dustin May does well, you don't want to push him out, right? But if he doesn't do well, then that's when Tony Gonsolin will have his shot, right? Because Tony Gonsolin's on the IL right now, and he wants to play too. I mean, I saw him get interviewed. I believe it was the opening day or the second day. I can't remember which day it was. I saw him get interviewed by the local broadcast TV partner in LA, and he says he's ready to go. I mean, he's upset that he didn't get a chance to play last year when they won the World Series, and he's really wants to come back. That's going to be because Tony Gonsolin's a great pitcher. Let's not forget that.
Hate to lose that guy. Every time I listen, it's the sad thing is every time I'm looking for Dodgers news and I'm searching the internet and I'm checking things out. Any sort of trade when people start talking about Gonsolin, I just don't like it. And it's just probably because I like him on the team. And sometimes, you pick a pick with your heart because you like that person, and it's not about what's the best for the team. And I feel like for me in that situation, I don't want to see him get traded. I want to see him stay on the team. But then again, you want the other pitchers to throw down and do their thing. And May could make it tough for him. But look at Sasaki. If he doesn't come back from that, there's something now you're thinking, you're scratching your chin. Well, maybe he needs to go down to OKC for a little while and get a taste of that. So it's so fresh in the season that we don't even know what's going to happen. But, you got Glasnow tonight, which is pretty awesome. But did you hear the story about Kike being sick?
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy he was sick.
What's that?
Yeah, another stomach bug with the Dodgers. Just crazy. He was sick, missed opening day, had to be sick for his ring. It's terrible. Terrible news.
And the sad part is I think he got he's not keeping stuff down either. So he's throwing up.
It's nuts, yeah.
So did Mookie give it to him
I know.
for
That's
being
be
in the
big
clubhouse and being there? It comes down to like, bro, did you just get me sick, dude? I was ready to play.
That's what it comes down to.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, then you look at how long, Mookie's out. Was out like, 2 weeks?
Yeah, hopefully Kike can come back sooner. Yeah, we don't want him to be out that long. Yeah.
Well, he's not sick and flying to Tokyo and back, so that's a good idea.
That's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, so we want to see him back, but not to stress it or anything. He's fine.
Well, let's make sure to subscribe for the ones that are hopping on for the first time. I want to thank everybody for their support. We got a lot of comments here, so we're going to go through some of them here.
Read them.
Here we go. So we got let's talk a little bit about that story. This is kind of a general baseball story, but the torpedo bats. I don't know if you saw that.
I have that written down to cover that.
What do you think about that, Brad? I mean, the way I was talking to my dad about this. I think there's always cheating going on in baseball, right? There's always a way to get the extra edge, and we don't know. Torpedo bats are legal now, but I don't know how they stay legal. Eventually, if everybody starts using them,
What's the old saying? You're not trying if you're not cheating
in
baseball. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
The old saying. Okay. I don't know, man. Okay, so I was watching MLB and really breaking it down, and they're showing guys that were having success with the torpedo bats, and they're showing their swing with the regular bat and where they were making the contact on the barrel of the bat. Was it more towards the logo or was it out towards the end? And so these guys, I think Volpe, he's one of the guys, that you look at the analyzation of his hits, he was hitting far down the barrel of the bat. So too early towards the end. So I see where that makes sense by putting it there. And it's not illegal. I mean, as far as you look at the law on it, and there's other guys. It's not just the Yankees. There's a few other dudes, I think, or at least one or two other guys on other teams. I think it's the Rays that uses the torpedo bat. I mean, if that's your sweet spot, if that's the spot you're consistently hitting at and you're moving the fattest part to that zone, I mean, it makes sense. I'm not going to hate on it, but It's a weird thing. I mean, they did score 20 runs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everybody
so,
starts using them. I know. I just think it's going to be, baseball would start having a lot more home runs, and there's going to be a lot of, they're going to start questioning whether this is really, legal or not, right? Because I think baseball is not really, the rules committee and all that haven't really analyzed this yet, right? I mean, this is something they're going to have.
Oh, they have, yeah.
They got to sit down and look at it.
I mean,
if this is going to be legal or not.
As far as the numbers go on that, like as far as like what it says, the weight has to be this, it has to be distributed this way, yada yada yada. Whatever that says is actually it's not breaking. So I think you'd almost have to make a new rule because it's not being covered in the existing rules now. So if you're MLB and you want to take it out, and I'm not voting to take it out. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, but if you're going to have to, if everyone starts using them and you start seeing a dramatic increase in home runs.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. If we have seen a dramatic increase in home runs, it's got to go. Because I don't want to see games that are like, 15-15, 12-12. I mean, I just, the games are trying to shorten the games. If we start having a lot of runs, that's going to make the games even longer.
It goes opposite to what they tried to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think they're going to have to look at how the torpedo bats affect really after the season ends, right? If a lot of players start using them, and it's just something that this year we're not going to see a change, Brad. I think this year it's going to be legal, and we're going to see it happen all year long, probably. Let's go through some more comments here. I want to thank everybody who's hopping on the stream. We've got a lot of people today. Neil before says pitchers will get hurt. Dodgers have plan A, B, and C, right? We have plan A, B, C, D, E, F probably. I mean, because we got so many players when it comes to pitching. So that's a good comment there. We got a question here. Why don't they put Sasaki after Yamamoto in the same game? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Tigers will win the division. And, we got another comment here. Pitchers are going to hate the torpedo bats. Well, obviously, right? Pitchers are going to hate
who was it? I'm trying to think of who was pitching. It was a former Yankee pitching against the Yankees who when they hit, 4 home runs in the first inning or something like that?
Yeah.
That's gnarly. Of course, pitchers aren't going to be liking that. That changes baseball to a point where, okay, now you're pitching against a guy who's got the sweet spot farther down. So do I pitch him inside now, or do I see what I'm saying? So that maybe the pitchers would have to adjust. So maybe that is an issue, and I never even thought about that till right now. Good, that was a good take or good talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think pitchers are, they're not going to like, anytime a hitter hits a home run, they don't like it. So usually remember when we had the steroid era. I mean, that was something that the pitchers always complained about, right? With players using the...
Yeah, but it was fun to watch, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a fun era. I mean, it was an exciting time for baseball. I'm sure a lot of people out there remember those years, the late 90s, early 2000s, right? It was an exciting time. I think baseball became mainstream again because that's something that baseball has struggled to do. That's a good point I wanted to ask you, Brad, about baseball being mainstream or not, right? Because, we see baseball kind of become mainstream in the sports world when the World Series comes around or when the Dodgers and Yankees play. But for the most part, baseball has become more like a niche sport, right? Like where only certain fans follow it. And I think that's going to affect the long-term, popularity of baseball because it's no longer really America's pastime as it was for so many decades.
Yeah.
And that's concerning.
You got a great point on that. 100% great point on that because it was bigger when the age of, and I don't want to sound like the old grandpa guy before social media, man. We would watch it again. No, I get it, but it's like we would gather around as even in our younger days before cell phones and all that stuff, and we'd watch Dodger games and we'd watch Laker games, and that would be a thing, and you'd watch the Kings, and you'd be like you'd revolve your whole week around watching those and barbecuing and that being a thing. And then it's not as popular in the regular season. Is there too many games? I don't know. I don't want to say that, but I agree with you. It's not as popular until it gets into the postseason. And then it seems like all of a sudden you get all these big numbers again. But
it seems like baseball. Look at American football, Brad. I mean, American football is still pretty mainstream, with the social media age. I think it's a baseball problem here, because look at other sports. How other sports like like the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers are popular all year long. They talk about the
Yep.
Lakers 12 months out of the year. Even in the summertime, they got the summer league going on. Local sports radio is talking the Lakers, right? Whereas the Dodgers, unfortunately, or baseball in general, it kind of gets lost among other sports. Like we've even seen it the
Yeah.
last few weeks. I mean, right now in LA, the biggest story is Luka Doncic, right? The Lakers,
Yep.
the Dodgers have kind of picked up this past week because they're playing regular season baseball. But my concern is going to be as the playoffs start for the Lakers. I mean, the Dodgers are going to kind of fall out of the loop again because it seems like baseball just can't catch on to that mainstream sports, cycle that other sports are on, especially basketball in LA, right? Because basketball in LA is the biggest sport. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if people disagree with that, but I think basketball is the number one sport in LA.
Well, I mean, and you got to give that credit to Showtime and and those teams that came before, and those are the ones that put them on the map. Because before that, Dodgers was the game in town because the Lakers came from Minneapolis, and until they came in, they weren't good right off the bat. So it took a little while for them to establish who they were, and yeah, I think that took a lot away from the mainstream of the Dodgers. But you also look at 162 games is a lot of games, and that's easy to lose interest in that. I mean, sometimes in NBA, I don't even want to start watching till the third quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, like, let's start the third quarter and let's go. But maybe it's just too much with baseball. But I think that's part of baseball's charm. And I think now stadiums have to make baseball an experience, is what they have to do. So when you go to a stadium now, it's an experience. Well, I feel like NFL doesn't have to sell that as much to the public. But in baseball, it's like, this is why you come here, because you have this, and you have a table that eats right above the bullpen, or like blah blah blah, and like you have something that's an experience. So I don't know, but you're right on that. I feel like baseball's popularity was huge. I mean, when I was a kid, listening to Vin on the radio with my dad was like highlights, because they didn't have the TV packages, so you couldn't get them. So you got them on radio basically only.
Yes, it was totally different time with sports broadcasting and baseball. Now all the games are available around the world, and
exactly.
That's it's in that ways it is better. But moving on to the next point here with the Dodgers, we got some more some comments here. We got Donald saying, how the Braves coming to town. Oh, this is a good question here from Donald. How does Atlanta's starting pitching look this season with their offense? Well, I mean, the way Atlanta's looked the first few days, I mean, I think Brett, I think we're making our picks here for this series. I think we're pretty well set up to win all these games, right?
Well, games. I mean, it's either Atlanta is that bad or the Padres are that good. If the Padres just swept them.
No, I think Atlanta's that bad. I think Atlanta's not that good this year.
Boy, how happy is Freddie Freeman now that he's gone?
Yeah.
Whew, I'm glad I got out of that hot.
I mean, Max Fried went to the Yankees. I mean, they're not as good.
Yeah. So this is your opportunity as the Dodgers to pounce. I mean, you had a day off, so like you're completely healed up from whatever you just did. I mean, you got Glasnow on the mound. I just don't. That's not on the mound. I don't see how the Dodgers don't come out and take care of business on this one.
Yeah.
And maybe even hold them to a one run or no runs at all.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Tyler Glasnow. Good point, Brad, because of course this is going to be his first start, in the regular season in 2025. The last time we saw him play meaningful baseball was a while ago when he got hurt in July or August of last year. Can't remember which month. And this is going to be the first time we're going to see Glasnow, pitch in a real game, and he looked good during the spring. And Glasnow has had a lot of injury concerns, right, in his whole career. So what do you think of this year, Brad, for Tyler? How much is he going to contribute? What can we expect from Tyler Glasnow this year?
Depends on the Dodger rotation and how many guys they're going to put out there, because the extra day rest, like they were talking about doing, maybe that helps them out for anyone. I'm not saying he's injury prone, but because he can get injured, maybe you don't want to just like bet the farm on him. And you look at a lot of MLB teams out there who only have one or two solid pitchers that they know that's the guy you want to send to the mound. And with the Dodgers have a different scenario with that one too. And if you're Glasnow, once again, it goes back to me saying if Glasnow gives up 2 to 3 runs, Dodgers can make up the deficit on that and take a win, no problem, and get to the bullpen a little quicker. So I don't think there's a lot of pressure on him. Management style, how long does Roberts leave him in? I mean, you look at what he did with Roki, 61 pitches in an inning and a third, or what was the number on that? That's a lot of pitches. Is he going to give Glasnow that same amount? I wouldn't think he would. Like if Glasnow went 60 pitches in the second inning, I don't think he would keep him out there long because Roki's a young man and Glasnow's a little bit older and he's coming back from injury. So I don't think there's a lot of pressure on him. It's not like he has to like take the ball and it's like, it's on your shoulders, man. You got to get us to the promised land, dude. I don't think it's even like that with him because, like I said, if
Well,
he
it's not
gives
like
up
that
2
with
or
any
3
player,
runs,
any pitcher on this team.
Any pitcher.
Yeah, none of them.
I mean, but I mean, if you left Roki in for 4 innings, I think that would have been a disaster, and that would have even destroyed his self-confidence even more, doing that to the guy. So, you got to manage it correctly. Glasnow's a big boy; he can handle it. So, if he gets shelled a little bit, but Atlanta 0-4, man.
Yeah,
I just think that this is an opportunity to pounce, and the Dodgers need to take full opportunity on this one.
Yeah, what's crazy about you're talking about the pitchers and managing them. It's crazy how this team, how I don't know how the egos are in the clubhouse when it comes to that, because a lot of these guys are sacrificing a lot to be on the Dodgers, right? I mean, if they were on any other team, they'd be the star, they'd be the number one guy, because the Dodgers have basically like 3 or 4 number one guys on one team. So these guys are sacrificing a lot to play with the Dodgers. And that's something that I think is not talked about enough, because this team is like a super team, right? We got like a bunch of stars all together, and there has to be egos in there, guys that think that are better and think they're the best. And Dave Roberts and the coaching staff has to manage this team to get them to all be on the same page, right? And that's not talked about enough, I think.
Egos, man. Egos aren't easy to deal with. You got to deal with the egos, and when you have that many guys, but I think because the Dodgers are a storied organization that you instantly go in there, and if you don't have respect, you don't last long. I mean, I look at a guy like Milton Bradley when he was on the Dodgers.
Yeah.
He didn't have respect for the Dodgers and their tradition, and it hurt him in the long run, being more about me. And that's what you don't want to be. You don't want to be more about me, and the Dodgers with these guys, you look at everyone, it's like, you may be one of the best ever, but look at Shohei. You got that guy as a role model in there. It's like, he's the best in baseball. And I don't care who you are below him. He's not throwing some ego around and showing that he's the best, He's just being Shohei. And it's like, as the Dodgers, to be able to manage those egos, I think that's an important part of it. And it's more about we and not me.
You brought up Shohei, of course, last week. Shohei Ohtani was in the limelight again, winning with the Dodgers and all that. And then there was a pretty interesting comment that became viral over the week with, of course, Colin Cowherd talking about Shohei Ohtani. And he said that Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player ever already. What do you think about that, Brad? Is he already the best baseball player ever?
Oh man, these are such hot. These are questions when you throw these out there. People are just get so unhinged on this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in my eyes, yeah, he is. I feel like he is the best baseball player ever. Yes, and I said that, with Babe Ruth in mind, with Lou Gehrig, with everybody else in mind, going all the way back. And I just think what he can do and what he's done in baseball, I don't think it could be duplicated. Pretty sure Babe Ruth didn't steal a lot of bases.
No.
Pretty sure old Babe was not, unless there was a beer on second base, dude was not stealing a lot of bases. So, and it's different era, because even, you remember what Barry Bonds said? He goes, he would never have that many home runs, because if he went deep once, the next pitcher who's going to come up,
I don't buy that.
Put him on the ground.
I don't buy that. I think Ohtani would do well in any era. I think he's that good. I think Ohtani is the greatest baseball player I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I think he would do good in any era. I mean, let's even go back to the era of, I don't know, the 70s or 80s, when you had really dominant pitching, starting pitching. I mean, Ohtani probably wouldn't hit 50 home runs, but he'd still be hitting 35, 40 home runs, hitting his batting average. I mean, there's just no way you put Ohtani in any era, he would do well, especially offensively. Now, when it comes to, I know people are going to argue and say, because, this guy, we compare him to Babe Ruth because he's a pitcher and a hitter, right? And there hasn't really been a dominant player that's done both since Babe Ruth. He's the first one. But I don't compare him to Babe Ruth just because of that. I mean, I think just his offensive output the last few years is enough to win. Because if let's say he never pitches again, which, he pitched a bullpen session. He is going to pitch again for the Dodgers, right? He wants to pitch and all that. But let's say he never dominates again on the mound. I think just what he's doing right now with the Dodgers as a DH is enough to, give him credit as, one of the greatest, if not the greatest player ever, right? Because, think about everything he did last year with the Dodgers. He was clearly the best, player on the team. He carried the team at times, right? Just him. Think about that series against San Diego. He doesn't hit that, that 3-run homer, we're losing. If he doesn't hit that home run, we lose that game, right?
Yeah.
Against San Diego and then LDS, we lose.
Yeah, but I still, even though I do not like Barry Bonds, I have seen him, the whole MVP, hit home runs out of Dodger Stadium back when I used to work there. But I'll tell you right now, I think Barry Bonds has a little something with what he's saying right there. The old days, you remember, man, eye for an eye. Like, oh, you're gonna show me up, you're gonna hit a home run, I'm gonna put you on the ground on the next one.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like you might see more
of that.
That's
gone now. That's gone now.
Yeah. Maybe if he was around back then, he has a few less home runs, but I don't know how you drill a guy like that who does not have an attitude, who apologizes if he even fouls the ball off the catcher. It's like I don't even think that at all. At some point, I still think he's going to put up numbers, just like you said. Whatever era he's in, he's putting up numbers.
All right, let's go to the comments. We got a lot of people now hopping on. I want to thank everybody for watching us today. If you're watching the stream for the first time, maybe the algorithm sent you over. Myself, Brad, we're always putting videos out. We got watch-alongs, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. So we got let's roll through the comments here.
What do we got, man? What do we got?
We got a Green Fin talking about big lead in the stands or not. You always have to have the same mentality by trying to win, because it ingrains a habit, and you're more likely to keep winning. So got to keep, of course, that.
Thank you. That's proper.
That mentality to win. Talking about also, Ohtani's already proven that he's the best player overall. He hasn't put together the greatest career of all time, but that's totally a different question. So, different
good
question.
Point.
So, obviously Ohtani's career is not over yet, right? It's still, that's the thing, Brad. This guy is in his prime right now, right? He's barely in his prime right now, right? He hasn't exited his prime yet. So, it's still like the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to get the best of Ohtani. Let's say 3 to 4, maybe 4 to 5 is pushing it. Let's say the next 3 to 4 years, right? We're going to get the same Ohtani, I think.
Yeah, and I think that also his batting average, like if you go and compare, like what was it? Was he 10 years in with the Angels? I always forget the number on that.
But it was only 6 years, like 6, 7 years.
So go compare when he's done, let's say 6 or 7 years with the Dodgers, 6 or 7 years with the Angels, and then compare his batting average to those. And I bet you're going to find in, another 5 years from right now that his batting average will be going up, because also they're not relying on him to pitch as much as the Angels are relying on him. And that could change. The Dodgers could end up needing him a lot more and then need him from the mound, or need him next year, and then he's got to do double duty. But I feel like you would see a batting average improvement from the two teams at the same amount of time.
Yeah, I think Ohtani is going to be, a player that, when it's all said and done, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it. It's crazy. That's a good question with the Dodgers right now. We can already start talking about, because they already won the World Series. Even if let's say they never win the World Series again. Let's say things go south, whatever. Because that can happen, right? We're talking about a dynasty, but let's say it doesn't happen, right? This team still has multiple Hall of Famers already on this team. And that's because they won last year, I think, too. Winning the World Series last year kind of confirmed Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman going to the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
Yeah, but still, you have to look at their body of work too, and look at the numbers too. What Freddie put up in Atlanta, what Mookie put up in Boston too, as well. So
the whole career.
That adds to it, because you got to have some numbers there too, as well. But look at how many Hall of Famers. I think that as we look back at like the '81 team or some of the 1970s teams of the Dodgers and think that they're the best teams ever, the best Dodger teams ever, I think that's going to change, and I think that's going to change in the next 2 or 3 years. We're going to be looking at these, when we're way old, and say, whoa, those teams of 2024, 25, and 26, those are the best Dodger teams ever. I think we're going to be looking at it that way when it all comes down to it. I really do.
It's going to come down to how many World Series they could put together, right? How many championships they win, how many World Series they play in and win, right? Because I think that's what this team is built to do. win multiple championships, going all the way, setting up a dynasty. We haven't had a baseball dynasty in 25 years, right? The Yankees won 3 in a row. That's the last dynasty we've had in baseball, right? Crazy.
Yep. 3 in a row. Yeah, we definitely got to beat that. That's everything. And I'm driven more to beat the Yankees than anything in my head, just because growing up as a little kid, the Reggie Jackson era, seeing that, seeing the Yankees beat the Dodgers in back-to-back World Series as like I think I was 12 or somewhere, 11 years old. So that kind of stuff right there has always stuck with me, because that was an emotional thing for a 12-year-old. You're like, they beat us again. You're crying. Reggie Jackson, Mr. October's just going bonkers. And just like, it was tough. So I ended up just, all I wanted to do was beat the Yankees. And so seeing the Yankees do good, starting off the season right now, I'm like, yeah, bring it. Let's face them again in the World Series and take them down.
No, but I don't think. Come on, Brad. No, I don't think the Yankees are going to the World Series. I mean, I know that the Yankees are the Yankees. But I can't see them making it.
I can only wish for that.
You want to see that rematch
I can
again?
Only wish.
The rematch.
Oh, I sure do. I want to have.
But see, the Yankees are going to be super motivated to beat the Dodgers if that happens. It's going to be, we're going to have, some pretty, motivated Yankees. I don't want to see the Yankees in the World Series this year.
Who do you want to see the Dodgers?
I mean, I want to see, like I said the Red Sox started out slow. I thought they were going to, it's still early, but I still think the Red Sox.
We got to pay. We got to pay back for them too.
Red Sox, they beat us in 18. And I think it'd be good if we were to beat them in a World Series. The Dodgers never beat the Red Sox in a World Series, so it'd be the first time. Yeah. So it'd be fun to have that sort of rematch. Let's go to the comments, though. We got Pasquale saying, great show, guys. I began watching you in January. Appreciate your content. I watched the various Dodger podcasts. They're all great. First time, different approach. Yeah, appreciate it. Like we've been saying, we got a different way of bringing it here. We got, come on, Brad. We're the best Dodger channel out there. So if you're not subscribed, I don't know why you're not subscribed.
Look, and we just, I think we try to keep it as much as real as we can when it comes down to it. And, maybe that's cliche or whatever, but, we live and breathe Dodgers, man. I worked for him as a DJ for 5 years. I've loved him since I was the first game I ever gone to when I was like 5 years old at Dodger Stadium. Oh, man. I mean, it's being born in L.A., like, to me, it's all about the Dodgers, and to being able the opportunity to do this and entertain people, more power to it. Thanks for listening, man, and thanks for watching the shows. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate everybody, and let's keep going here with, of course,
What do you got?
We got what else we got here? No more comments. But we're gonna talk a little bit about the series, of course, with Atlanta. Atlanta is a team that is going to be, like we talked about, heavy favorites to Dodgers. I think, with the pitching they got, all the hitters they got, it's just going to be more about, the Dodgers taking the game serious, right? And that's something that I don't know what you think about that, Brad. Right now, the Dodgers have looked very good, very motivated. They're playing their best, but there's always going to be, moments in the season where that doesn't go, happen, right? And the question is, how do you keep yourself motivated when you play teams like this, right? The Braves, right? That are, that's gonna be the thing,
Yeah, I agree, and like we talk about them being hungry. I mean, you just got swept by the Padres, or the Madres, however you want to call them. But that's not a good thing for the Dodgers. I look at that just because you don't want them being hungry. You don't want them being they really want to win. But you know what? The Dodgers have had a day off to rest too as well, so Roberts can do anything he wants with that lineup, so whatever he wants to put together. And you look at what the Dodgers have batted against. I forget the guy that Glasnow is going against, but you look at what their work against him. There's not a lot of work. So a lot of these guys are facing him for the first time. Only, I think, 2 or 3 of the Dodgers have seen him before. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I think the Dodgers are going to come out fresh, and it doesn't matter if Glasnow gives up a run or two. We'll come back at the end. I predict a Dodger win, and I predict a low-scoring affair on Atlanta's side.
Now, I'm really excited about this weekend, Brad, because we're going to be taking on the Philadelphia Phillies in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a very tough place to play for an opposing team. It's a super loud place, and those games are going to be filled up for sure, right? Because it's the Dodgers, the Phillies. It was a rivalry, of course, many years ago, and now they're going to be playing. And the Phillies are good. I mean, they're a good team now. And I'm excited to watch those games because, Friday it's an Apple TV game. It's national, and the weekend, going to be day games. So that's the first real big test, wouldn't you say, Brad, for the Dodgers on the road in Philadelphia this season?
100%. And what you said, Phillies are good. You look at some of the MLB experts, some of them are saying the Phillies they're gonna eclipse the Dodgers and go to the World Series.
Yeah,
There's been
I saw that.
Said that.
Yeah,
and I was like, what? The heck they are. But yeah, the Phillies are a good team, and I think that is a very true test. It also depends what you do against Atlanta. What if you come out guns a-blazing in Atlanta, you take 3 games, then you have a day off, and then you're facing the Phillies? Man, you're looking really good at that point. What are you? 8-0?
It could be 8-0, yeah. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Brad, but yeah.
Okay, sorry, man. I get it. One can only dream, my friend.
Yeah. But no, the Phillies, though, I mean, that's a good point, though. The Phillies going all the way this year, it all depends on Bryce Harper, right? I mean, if Bryce Harper has a crazy season, they're going to compete with the Dodgers for the National League. They are. Yeah. They're going to be better than the Mets if the Phillies have a great season from Bryce. I believe that they have better pitching, I think, than they can. Obviously it's a big what if, but they can in some ways have put together a better pitching staff than what the Mets can offer, right? And that's where I think they could take advantage and compete with the Dodgers. So we could potentially see the NLCS preview this weekend, which could be pretty interesting, right, in early April.
And you look at Bryce Harper too. I'm glad you bring him up. You look at him and go, okay, well, he's got to be getting up there. He's played for a while. He's only 32 years old. So Bryce is only 32. And I kind of thought he was taking a dip on his numbers, but I don't think so. And I think you're right. He's their catalyst no matter what. If he does good, then, they could do good as well. So I think they're a tough matchup, and it'll be a big test. And it's going to be Yamamoto, I'm pretty sure, it's going to be Yamamoto to get game 1.
Third start.
And then Yep, and I think Sasaki would get the second game.
Yeah, so that's be interesting for sure to see, and it's always fun to watch. I like watching the Dodgers, of course, play at Dodger Stadium and all that, but I always like the road games too, because we get to see all the Dodger fans out there going. We always have Dodger fans all over the country, which is fun.
Yeah,
and there's always going to be a loud fan base out there, and it just helps 100%. The team, get better, because all these home games are fun and all that. But they don't really prepare the Dodgers for October, right? If they're not playing on the road against teams like this, right? That's how. I see it.
Yeah, that is a really good point too. As well, you want to see them do good in the other stadiums. Dodger Stadium is just such a magnificent place to play. But yeah, you got to prove yourself by going on the road. But you said it also. LA travels well, man. You go to any stadium, and there is a lot of Dodger fans. Like, I've seen Dodgers play teams all over the U.S. I've gone to visiting games with Dodgers, and we always have a strong contingency showing up at the game. That's just the amazing thing about them. I think better than any other team in baseball. Definitely better than the Yankees.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, no, the Dodgers have the best traveling fan base for sure, right? I mean, we got fans 100%. That go basically, we even go to Florida or, Tampa Bay. There's going to be fans there. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to be a Dodger fan, because we're the most iconic baseball team out there. I mean, I think people disagree, but I think we've dealt with that.
Yankee fans will disagree with you on that one, but
no, but come on, we've earned that. I mean, over time now. I mean, the Yankees might have been iconic, pre 1960, but I mean, the last 60 years, the Dodgers have built themselves to be up there, and now with this recent win over the Yankees, I mean, I think it confirms who's a better team right now in 25.
Yeah, looking forward to all the matchups. I mean, the season just gets started, and it's like I feel like there was some of those Detroit games were playoff atmosphere. Like, it felt like it was a playoff game, and here it is. Like,
in March, yeah, it's crazy,
right? When you get that kind of stuff early in the season, I think there's nothing you can do but look forward to the rest of the season.
It's good, and also it shows that the Dodgers might not have as easy as a ride as we think, too. Maybe there's going to be a lot of teams that want to beat the Dodgers, and we're going to see a lot of these games, and sometimes it's not going to go our way, right? I mean, some of these games, Brad, we're not going to win. We're not going to stay undefeated.
What? You're not going to say we're going to go 162-0? We're not going to do that? So when you even look, like, when's the first time the Dodgers even faced the Padres? I mean, it is pretty far off in the distance. Like we're talking June. There's a 3 games. That's it.
Wow.
So
2 months. It's crazy.
that's a long time to not face the Padres right
Yeah.
there.
A lot of interleague
So
for sure before. Yeah.
yeah, that's a strange one. So 3 games in Atlanta, day off. 3 games in Philly, the 3 in Washington, and Dodgers got invited out to the White House on that
What
one.
day is that going to be, Brad?
The Washington ones.
No, no. What day is the White House trip? The
I
visit
would I would
on the
think
day
that they're
off
gonna.
day next Thursday.
Well, they face Washington at 6:45, 6:45, and 4:05.
Yeah.
So I'd probably be the like it'd probably be before one of those games, like before the first game, which would be what on the 7th of April.
Yeah.
I think that would be how that would work.
Appreciate Green Finn for the super chat. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. We appreciate that. Also, we got Lance is saying, I like to see a Yankees Dodgers World Series again. Of course, agreeing with what you were saying, Bradley, because since we owe them from when we were both in New York. Yeah, of course, it'd be cool to see it again, but I just don't see the Yankees. Not having Garrett Cole is just too much. These are top pitcher. I mean, I know they got Max Fried, but if they had Max Fried and Garrett Cole, think of how different their outlook.
They don't need him, bro. They got the torpedo bat.
There we go.
That's all they need right now. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, and it's a long season, man. It's not a sprint. It's definitely a marathon to get to that zone. But I do want to say this. Hey, Freddie Freeman, how about the 2 home runs that he has hit have both been clutch? It's like, what's going on? Freddie's literally taken off where he left off. And he started out slow, I think, a couple games, and then, man, each of the home runs, he hits them when it counts. And that's what I also want to bring up is Teo. Teo's like the Iceman, dude. He's like, he can like slow his heartbeat down.
Yeah,
like he can be in the batter's box and just focus, because when there's guys on base, man, I feel like more times than not, he's producing, and he's doing it early in the year. And I like what Conforto is bringing to the table, like seeing him out there in left field, man.
Yeah, it's been super fun watching these first few games, but we're coming to the end here. I want to thank everybody who, of course, hopped on the stream today. It was, great talking to everybody. We appreciate all the comments. Make sure to subscribe, like the videos. We got the watch along tonight, and we're gonna, keep those watch alongs going this year. So if you're not watching let's say you're not next to a radio or you don't have access to the game, you can always come to Dodgers Digest for the watch along.
Nice, man. Should be fun. Let's get a win. Glasnow needs to take care of business tonight for sure.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for us. We're going to log out of here. As always, take us out. What do you say at the end of every video, Brad?
Hey, no matter what you do as you go through your awesome day, just always remember to think Dodger.